Hello everyone and welcome. Peace to you. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Ninth Jedi, the series, not just the little snippet that we normally get from, um, what's it called? Visions. Although it is a spin-off of the animated show Star Wars Visions, this goes deeper into the story of the Ninth Jedi. So how this starts is the fact of this particular person, the evil guy, was trying to figure out who could be corrupted and everything else, and just continued into this big, huge spiel. But this one starts off with them trying, so them being the, I guess you would call the resistance, and dealing with this particular masked force user, I'll say it that way, who was trying to have balance and order in the universe, which I thought was kind of interesting based on how they were doing it, by making them, by ruling them, basically, which I thought was interesting. So the idea of doing all of that was far beyond what I was expecting. So it kind of the first couple episodes kind of goes in the similar direction of how like regular Star Wars has gone in the past, where it's like a big bad guy who's a force user with a mask, who is gathering kyber crystals to create a weapon that's going to be used to destroy planets who are against them, but specifically used as a threat to get other planets to join their cause, so that way they will be under their leadership. Okay? Which, like I said, is verbatim what we're used to in Star Wars to begin with. However, it was everything else that was different after this. So it turns out how this mastermind came to be was actually due to the fact of seeing the main character's dad strike down his master. So there was a point where there was a Jedi Order that was trying to be built. The Jedi head counselor? I don't know how you would describe him. Um, Apparently was doing some shady stuff um, by profiting off of the usage of the Jedi Order. And the main character's dad found out about it, confronted him. They turned into a big fight, and he slayed his master down. Now, what had happened to his lightsaber was it had turned silver, and that's when he was able to slice down his master. Now, the thought process with the color of silver is the fact of like silver is meant to push away all your emotions completely. Like, don't let anything be felt. Where a lot of times when people are in the middle of both good and light, they are allowed to express all of the emotion. Where in this type of format, they're not allowed to express their emotions, period. Which gives them a calm mind, a elevated boost in the force, it appeared, or at least that's what they thought. And then being able to, like I said, utilize their fighting skills as well to a much better advantage. So the main character goes through the motions of everything, of dealing with all this stuff, learning about her father and how he was a war criminal due to the fact that he killed his master, and then later finds out that what he did was justified, although still wasn't the best thing to do, but he also kept it a secret from everyone. He did not allow anybody to know what had happened, and that's when his former team had found out and realized that he actually had a reason to do what he did. So obviously the father was captured by the masked figure who keeps calling him master, and he's like, I'm not a master to anybody. And it turns out that he wasn't actually the kid's master. He was just a kid that happened to see him slay his master, and that from that day on, he decided to treat that guy as his master, which I thought was very interesting. And I thought was also kind of cool. But anyway, so having all of that happen. So this continued on where we got to see the Kyber crystal cannon be used and nearly destroy a planet. However, it still wasn't perfected due to the fact that the Kyber crystals were not being properly aligned, I guess, and that's what was causing the issue. Because they were a bunch of little fragments that they needed one big one to be able to utilize it properly. And so during this whole time, the girl was trying to provide a resistance to stop this mass figure. Her master gets killed, which is the friend of her dad's, who then becomes a force ghost. She then realized, she in her mind thinks that everything was lost and she couldn't be a Jedi anymore. Um, she then goes rogue and begins to use the dark side, and then using her, and during this uses a red lightsaber, which then makes her very worried and wants to stop completely. However, she eventually calms herself enough to give herself the silver lightsaber. Able to calm herself, she goes toe to toe against the masked creature or masked figure, while everyone else tries to shut off the kyber cannon, which they were able to do. Her fight, though, with the masked figure is one of the best fights we've seen. We see a lot of like force speed use as well, which I thought was kind of cool, like enhancing her speed. We also see her turn her lightsaber on and off with the force, not willingly, like meaning like she didn't do it like purposely to enhance the combat. She did it purposely so she would not kill anybody again, which I thought was kind of cool. So we see that. We also see her lightsaber turn back to being green, and we see the masked figure's lightsaber turn red, realizing that he is not like he thought he was, and that she defeated him with ease, and that he was to stand down. He does so. He's captured. She then creates a Jedi Order, which it looks like she's running. And now they have a Force Ghost that's a part of the Jedi Council, and they're all working together to try to provide peace into the universe. I know I sped through a lot of that just because there was a lot that happened, but also not a lot that was like prevalent to the story. Um, and then at the end, we see the father go to the prison cell of the masked figure who's no longer masked, and gives him a lightsaber. We hear it turn on, however, it is off screen, so we don't actually see the color of it. And that's how it ends. So one of the big things here, or the big takeaways, is the fact of like the universe has a lot of people who try to use kyber crystals as weapons, which I think is kind of interesting. Just that's a concept that everyone just does. Um, I thought I had a problem with it in the beginning, and I was telling my friend like this, where it's like I did have a problem with it, but the way they did told the rest of the story, because those were like the first couple episodes, so I was like, oh great, this is usually gonna be a carbon copy of like the Jet, like the Star Wars movies. However, it was not. It was actually utilized in a better way, in a different way, so we didn't get to see like a carbon copy of what was done in the past, which I thought was kind of cool. We also got to see a lot. This series showed lightsaber changing color a lot, much more frequently than we've ever seen in the universe, which I thought was kind of interesting. But it also fit because the idea was they were used to show the emotion of the user at the time, which I thought was kind of cool. We were all also, excuse me, introduced to a different color lightsaber, which was the silver, which is, to my knowledge, never been seen before. We've seen white before, but we have not seen silver. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. And we just got to see a lot of great fight scenes as well, which I thought was excellent. There is a chance that this could get another season. Obviously, they kind of leave it ambiguous to kind of show you what could be next or what could have happened to that universe. But we'll have to wait and see if there is going to be one. But let me know what you guys thought about this series down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a wonderful night.